So joining us now is former police commissioner and political leader of the National Transformation Alliance, Gary Griffith. Mr. Griffith, as always, it's always good to speak with you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you, Marlon. I think it will be a first where I'm going to echo there, Marlon.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Griffith. We'll try to correct that here. But we're hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, sure. Good morning to you.
Yes. Well, how does this strike you?
Well, I think it is unfortunate. I know you spoke about how red the place looks, and unfortunately, our country now is just drowning in red blood. It is unfortunate, but there are things that can be done. Is it that are we prepared? Do we have the political will to make that drastic change legally? What we have seen in El Salvador over the last few years with the transformation of El Salvador to being a much safer country. I recall I did just about 5% of that, and many people protested. But it is time that we have to take the fight to the criminal elements. There are so many things, Marlon, and Trinidad and Tobago that can be done. We cannot politicize this. Political parties spending time to attack Keith Rowley, Fitzgerald Hines, the PNM at this time is not what is required. I continue to state that if we put good versus evil, law-abiding citizens versus the criminal elements, we would win the war against crime. I continue to offer my assistance because it is obvious that Fitzgerald Hines doesn't know what to do. Earlier, Christopher, her statement today is to state that the communities must take back the turf. I mean, she doesn't know what to do. We do not need law enforcement heads in Gabardine. We do not need them in cane, carrying a cane. We do not need them in an office. We need leadership by example. We need them to be carrying a firearm, to be on the operation route with those persons under their command, and to be able to fight fire with fire. There are so many things, again, as I stated. The main concern, obviously, is gang-related. But we had over 3,000 persons killed by firearms in the last 9 years under this administration. Less than 5 would have been by legal firearms. But yet, all of the you have heard over the last few weeks have now been to have safe zones, which is as ridiculous as they could get, because these safe zones for legal firearms, not one occasion, whether it is the schools, a bank, in a ministry, a legal firearm was used to commit a crime. So they're putting all their emphasis on legal firearms when 99.9%, as I said, over 3,000 persons have been killed by firearms in the last 9 years. And there are things that can be done, from not giving gangs state contracts, which is probably what caused that situation in Cocorite, the formation of a border protection unit, which I drafted for the Prime Minister. He ignored the use of technology where I provided the mobile scanners for probably turning persons with assault weapons into being deemed a terrorist so that they would not be given bail. So there are things that can be done, but what we need is the political will.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about a statement that was sent by the TTPS yesterday. Commissioner of Police Earl Harewood Christopher, in response to the incident, immediately summoned a high-powered meeting comprising the Deputy Commissioners of Operations and Intelligence and Investigations, the ACP Criminal Division, the head of the Homicide Bureau of Investigations, the head of the Special Investigations Unit, and heads of several other operational units. I suspect, Mr. Griffith, the TTPS has given out this statement to give the impression that, and to give some assurances that all is going to be well, and the police, they do have a grip on the matter.
Well, of course, that must be done. And I'm very pleased that you use the word impression, because that is what it is. It's very cosmetic. You turn up at the crime scene in Gabardine, holding your cane and stating that we give the assurance to the public we will win the war on crime. That is lip service. Where the country needs to know what it is that can be done, what it is that you are doing. I wish again to assure the public this can turn around. In the last 15 years, there were 2 specific periods where the country felt safe. Apart from the fact of crime going down, people felt safe. That is just as important as the reduction of crime itself. That would have been in 2013 to 2015, and also 2018 to 2021. And it's because of proactive thinking and something known as predictive policing. When we had that special operation response team, we will get information from the National Operations Center that was recommended by the Commission of Inquiry into the attempted coup that was unfortunately handed over to the SSF in a very foolish manner by this government. That ensured something that was known as predictive policing. And we did it still with the Special Operation Response Team. That unit was able to stop many of those situations in Cocorite before it happened, because we had a system, well, apart from the 482 Gary, we had the technology of online reporting, the police app, and giving persons the opportunity to come forward to give information prior to the incident happening. So to speak now about the intelligence has revealed its gang activity, that is irrelevant. Predictive policing is what caused that August 2020 to August 2021 having the lowest number of murders in over 17 years in the country. Predictive policing is what is required. So things such as the Operation Command Center, watching the country 24/7, having 100 emergency response patrols, patrolling throughout so that within less than 5 minutes you can get an immediate response. That provided the deterrent, that reduced the product opportunity for the criminals, and having the type of units that criminals can fear, it pegged them back. Those are the things that are required, not lip service.
Yeah. Let's dive a little deeper into the statement of the Corporate Communications Unit yesterday, where they're also saying that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will pursue all investigative leads with a view to bringing the perpetrators of this incident to justice in the shortest possible time. My question, Mr. Griffith, how can we as a population have confidence in statements such as these when I'm looking in the newspaper this morning and I'm seeing that no one has been held in connection with the killing of 5 people at Harp Place off Observatory Street in East Port of Spain on March 16?
Well, I definitely, it would be irresponsible of me to tell the public do not have any confidence in the police service. What is required is a bigger picture. I recall when I was Minister of National Security, the buck stopped with me. If crime went up or down, I would be blamed or credited. As Commissioner of Police, it then turned to the Commissioner. This is requires that type of holistic approach between responsibility of the Chair of the National Security Council, which he continues to boast about but not show the capability to do, the Security Minister, and the Commissioner of Police. And I'll give you a perfect example. Speaking about intelligence, you have the SSA. The SSA has been virtually shut down. You have removed the quality persons who are highly trained. And for example, now you have put a new director of the SSA, and nothing against the individual. He's one of the most respected senior officers I worked with in the Defense Force. But you bring somebody there who has absolutely no previous experience, qualification, or training in intelligence gathering. And the SSA, that is what they're there for. So saying the police will deal with everything through intelligence. And that is why we had that National Operations Center, Marlon, where different arms of the protective services will meet and 24/7 have that type of synergy and working relationship to turn information into intelligence, into evidence. That has been shut down. The concept of having the SSA now firing everybody because who has turned to God, they must not be in the SSA. It is not going to help. We need to take away the politics. An efficient 999 system, a proper effective use of technology, which is available, an operational command center, a commissioner's command center, covert operatives, and using the type of, as I said, the technology we had before to have preventative policing, that and intelligence-driven operations. I'm seeing now is the knee-jerk approach, where you will make the statement from the communication department as they should, but it is not going to help. I ask the public, this can turn around, it can change. To those persons that support the government, you need to try to influence that political leader and that prime minister. You can't be playing politics and just say, I am not going to take any advice from anyone because they don't have a red party card in their back pocket. This is a time we need to circle the wagons and work together. Because yes, the government would most probably change in a year's time, but we will have very little in our country if we continue along this line. The government, they do not know what to do. The Commissioner of Police, she has not implemented one policy in the last year as Commissioner, not one thing. You would have been seeing every Wednesday in 18 to 2021. Every week you'll be hearing different policies, different units, different technology. That is what the country needs. Let us see what you're doing, not just do a communication release to give lip service.
Yeah. Now, in speaking with reporters yesterday, Christopher said, based on initial information given to the police, the mass shooting is believed to be as a result of a turf war. My question is, in 2024, how could we still be speaking about turf war? Is that an indictment against the police? Because to me, as a normal citizen, to me, the police should know whether the gangs that are warring, where the war is going on. So if we're speaking about a turf war, to me, that is an indictment on the police, not so? That you should be able to know about this and deal with it.
Well, no, yes and no, not just the police. So as I mentioned, the concept of intelligence gathering, it's much more than the TTPS. So yes, under the Special Operation Response Team, I drafted a specific unit of intelligence officers, highly polygraphed, using heavy, intense technology and getting the public's buy-in, where we were being bombarded with information from the public because, remember, public trust and confidence was 14% in August in 2018, sorry. In 2021, it moved to 59%. What that meant is that the public, there's no such thing as a perfect crime, Marlon. Every single time somebody will know something. So, for example, what happened in Cookroot, most probably somebody there would have known something. They would have contacted 482 Gary. They would have used the online reporting. They would have used the police app. Some information would have been passed, and immediately SWAT would have intercepted. The number of lives was saved by SWAT by intercepting vehicles with firearms on their way to kill persons. That is what is required. So the intelligence also must be holistic between the SSA, the Defense Force, the TTPS. And again, going back to the Defense Force, we have 5,000 personnel in the Defense Force, and no more than 100 are being used to support the police. No, that is a part of the interagency task force. This is ridiculous, and this is where a government must understand your role and function and utilize your resources, whether it's technology or manpower, in an efficient and effective manner, and it is not being done.
I think what you're speaking about this morning, Mr. Griffith, I think you're asking the authorities that they need to cast a wide net on this situation as it relates to crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what I did as Minister of National Security. It resulted in the highest number in the highest reduction in serious crime in 31 years, and the country felt safer having something as an emergency response patrol, which we have 10 divisions in the police service. Say Western Division, for example, you have 10 vehicles patrolling 24 hours a day. Picture 3 vehicles, Diego Martin, 3 Piti Valley, 3 Caranage, and 1 in Cookroot, 24 hours. That would have been a deterrent. So you would have been seeing 10 vehicles, and it meant that if there's an incident within less than 3 to 5 minutes, you have a response. The criminals know that I can go in broad daylight, I can go anytime, I can go by residence nightclub, shoot someone, walk away for 45 minutes opposite the commissioner's residence, there will be no response. And this is not indicative of the failure of the police service. It has to do with bad leadership and politicizing national security by shutting down and dismantling things that worked. Additionally, when Earl Christopher speaks about the issue of gangs and turf, we had the same thing pre-2018, where in Chaguanas, you recall, there were gunshots, and for 3 or 4 hours, the police couldn't go there. We have to show that we can take the fight to the criminals. We have to fight fire with fire. We have to do it to them before they do it to us within the law. And one of the biggest concerns that has caused that problem in Trinidad and Tobago is the state giving state contracts to criminal elements. You give them $5 million to build a $500,000 box drain, and they use the profit not to assist the community, but instead they do it to purchase more sophisticated weapons, hire more gang members, put hits on other gang members to get their state contracts, and that is what has caused the problem in Trinidad and Tobago. The biggest issue that it has started in 2005, 2006, referring to criminal elements and gang members as community leaders. I put a stop to it. I fought it down as a minister against my own government. I did the same fight in this government as Commissioner of Police. It is something that I am returning to government to put an end to. We put an end to that. It is going to play a very big part to put an end or minimizing greatly what we would have seen over this weekend.
Yeah. It's, how do I say, not surprising, but it is a bit troubling that every now and then we still have to speak about gang activity in Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean, from what has transpired, and this may be one of the worst ones we have seen thus far, where 8 people have been wounded and 4 persons dead. So is it, Mr. Griffith, you believe, because you did touch on certain things a little earlier, so is it that you have to starve the gangs of resources? Can also legislation work?
No, I recall there was a clash. So I think one of the major clashes that I had with the Prime Minister when I said we must stop giving gangs state contracts. Foolishly, he said, well, they are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, they have not been arrested. Well, then they have a right to, which is similar to telling somebody who the CIA will know has involved with terrorist links to pay in the White House. That is the type of irresponsible comments that you will get from a chair of the National Security Council. You have to profile these individuals. You can't be giving them contracts. And then sometimes we have politicians who will do this in the hope that you get your people in to support me, and then and get me into government, and then I will give you state contracts. This has to end. I continue to fight it. I will fight it regardless of whether it's red or yellow. We cannot do it. I did it. I recall I was walking as a minister to open a police station, and one of the biggest gang members behind me, and I was told that this man was given a state contract to build the police station. It continued with this government. It has to end. And we continue to turn a blind eye. You cannot play with filthy animals, otherwise you will get fleas. And the country, we are the ones that are suffering. So as I said, if we continue to turn a blind eye, feel that by giving these gangs state contracts, it will help us in our election campaign, and then try to hope that by giving them contracts, crime will go down. It is just the opposite. As I said, we have to fight fire with fire. I would have done about 5% of what El Salvador government would have done to peg back criminals, and I was criticized for it, because remember, when it's not just the persons in the white vest, Marlon, and the short pants, the three-quarter pants that are involved in the criminal activity. There are those in shirts and tie, jacket suits, who may be part and parcel of aiding and abetting in these criminals and supporting them by giving them the opportunity. My job and intention is to get back in government to put an end to it. In the meantime, within the next year, the Prime Minister cannot continue to try to play enemy with anyone who doesn't have a PNM party card. You have played your hand and lost. Fitzgerald Hines, he has not made one option of something that can be done. As I mentioned, we have the mobile scanners to look for illegal weapons. We have the border protection unit that can be done. We have 7 containers that go missing every year in the country. So seizing 800 illegal firearms this year. After 5 years, 1 container could bring in all of that. So there are things that can be done, that should be done. Again, you continue to spend 95% of your time in national security speaking about legal firearms. Again, as I want to re-emphasize, over 3,000 persons have been killed by firearms in the last 10 years, 9 years under the PNM, under this administration. And out of that, less than 5 have been by legal firearms. But now your focus is on putting a safe zone just to make it worse for persons with firearms, not to go to a school to drop their children, not to go to a bank to deposit money. You're basically trying to find an avenue to put these persons' lives at risk. And nothing you're doing to state, let me see what can be done to minimize the 2,995 plus lives that have been lost by illegal firearms, which has proven to be the main concern, or maybe the only concern as it pertains to murders by firearms in this country.
I'm seeing it is being reported this morning that the murder toll now stands at 193, and in 2023 it was 210. If we continue along this path, Mr. Griffith, then I suspect we're going into further hundreds and hundreds of people being killed in Trinidad and Tobago again.
And it can change. So yes, we might very well go from, it might be 580 to 610. And the last thing we want is to bring it down by 2 or 3 to speak of to Martin Joseph the thing and say that there's been a decrease in the increase in crime. That is not what we want. What the country wants to see, I remember my first year, as I mentioned, because of the increase in crime annually, I couldn't have done it overnight. It took me a year to bring in those policies of the ERP, SORT, the Gender-Based Violence Unit, predictive policing, intelligence-driven policing, the Operational Command Center, the Commissioner's Command Center, GPS tracking on vehicles, body cameras, pepper spray, tasers. Those are the things that, even though crime was going up, people felt that something was being done, and that's what they want to see. They want to see predictive policing. They want to see proactive policing. They want to see somebody that is thinking out of the box and being policy-driven to get things done. And then that is what you would have seen the results after, with the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. But as I said, these crime statistics you spoke about, Marlon, that is just half of it. The perception and fear of crime is just as important. The country has never been so mortified. They have never felt so unsafe. People are leaving the country. I am begging Trinidad and Tobago, stand firm. We can do this. It is good versus evil. You cannot have a government continuing to demonize and spend all of their time and resources to attack and discredit and hire investigators, pay them big money, and then give them comments as it pertains to state contracts. So all I ask is that if this can be done, this can be changed, but we cannot continue to do the same thing over and over, which is nothing, because nothing is going to happen. Predictive policing, the things that can be done. A quick point again, a police alert state. I drafted that in as a minister and a commissioner. So there's been an incident. What are you doing? You can't just go in there, garbage and a cane on the crime scene and then give a statement. Police alert state would have been an escalation from green to red, to amber, to red, to black. And based on the escalation of the threat of national security, you intensify the type of operational responses. Those things were shut down. So I would have lifted the police state or brought it down depending on the situation. And it worked. Those are the things that the country needs. It can be done. All Keith needs to do is just give me a call.
All right, let's talk a little bit about leadership. I just have about 2 minutes again. From what has been reported over the past few weeks is that we see that the term of the police commissioner is coming to an end on May 15th. We're also seeing that the Police Service Commission, they have put out in circulation a flyer, a notice for a new police commissioner. Do you see the term of this police commissioner being extended?
I don't know. It will all be based on what the Prime Minister wants. This whole thing has been totally politicized, and again, it's an unfortunate situation. I recall when I was appointed, when I applied in 2018, this was done by neutral, international, impartial experts. So I would have acquired 82% Earl Christopher, 52%, 30% less. Bam! You change the law to make the Police Service Commission be the persons who will do the vetting process. So you have 5 members in the Police Service Commission with no qualification, education, knowledge, or experience in law enforcement. And somebody who got 30% less, who got like less than half out of the interview, 3 out of 15 in a mock media conference, 3 out of 15 in role fit. You put her as the Commissioner of Police. And this is not to demonize or discredit Earl Christopher. She applied. She didn't impose herself on us. So what the bigger concern is the process. Because even when I got my 82%, the then Police Service Commission, they were appointed by a previous government who abstained against me. And guess what? They said, look, I got 82%, he came first, we are going to put him fourth. That is how flawed this process is. It is madness. So somebody get 82%, come first. And the then Police Service Commission decided to say, okay, even though you got the highest, you beat Stephen William, Harold Phillip, and everyone, we are still going to put them before you because we feel so. And that was because of their probable alignment with an administration that abstained from me as commissioner. And then now, when it is that you have this present administration who had a problem with me, you handpick people because remember the government hires selects a president who selects a police service commission. So there's political influence. So these individuals have imposed Earl Christopher on us. So it is based on who the Prime Minister will tell, the government will tell the president, who might just whisper to the police service commission, we are not going to get the right person unless we go back to international qualified experts selecting the individuals. And even the process itself, Marlon, let me add quickly, have now changed it to such a way that it is virtually impossible for anyone outside the police service to apply, and many persons within the police service can't apply. 9 out of 10 members, the deputy commissioners in New York City, are persons qualified in business and in administration, in finance, in logistics, and communication. If you have a master's in any of that to apply for commissioner, you're not going to get through. They continue to believe that law is the criteria. The 75 modules after you become commissioner. Nothing has law in it. It has to do with the same things. So you're asked you to be eligible. You need a position that you're not going to be assessed on. And the thing that you're going to be assessed on, if you're eligible, you're not going to be accepted. It is absolutely ridiculous and a ridiculous system. And it is, I think the focus should be on removing the Police Service Commission first and changing the system so that we can get the best commissioner.
Yeah, former Police Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago, Gary Griffith. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. I forgot to also introduce you as the NTA's candidate for the next general election for St. Joseph, right?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Terence. I'll say it was very good. St. Joseph we wish to thank you. You did your job at this time, for you to depart. And I think this is going to be a first for you, Marlon, that you're actually conducting interviews with a husband and wife on the same morning.
I just realized that. Gary Griffith, have a good day. Bye for now.